On a more serious note, I was wondering after watching Tricksters this past week, who defeated James Jesse 20 years ago?
The cops. Yes, it's funny because Mark asked the same thing. That it's like I thought I was only around in response to the Flash, and we're obviously taking some liberties with that. But yeah, I assume it was just the cops, and we'll see.
Well, there was also the gaping hole. We weren't quite sure if they were apprehended or if they slinked away.
They were caught. There was actually a longer thing there, which just unfortunately, as always with these things, kind of fell to time. And there's a chyron on the TV when Iris and Eddie are talking at the end, which says, Trickster is apprehended. But it's certainly not the last we'll see of them. And yeah.
So Mark Hamill's okay with returning on the show?
Yeah, he said, you have my number. I think, I don't really know him, so, but I think he had a fun time. I think he was really touched by the whole thing. He had said to me, which I thought was so sweet, that, he couldn't believe that his two favorite characters that he ever got to play came back to him in 1 year, and that the Trickster meant that much to him, considering the other role he was talking about that we all know, I think was really kind of cool, it was fun. It was, we don't, as always with these things, it could just be a gimmick, but I think we really looked at it as we don't have that character on the show. If you put all the rogues in one room, you've got Wentworth Miller and Anthony Kerrigan and Liam McIntyre. You got a bunch of really serious guys who are just all sort of glaring at each other. We didn't really have that sort of like that psychotic, brilliant, doesn't have any powers but is just as dangerous as anybody else character like the Joker, like the Trickster. So to bring that character onto the show and introduce him into the universe, and have Mark play it. So like he brought like a level of respect to it. I think it's as much as we were so excited to have Mark Hamill. I think it's really it's a good thing for the show, and it's a good thing to see in obviously not every week, but it's a good thing to sort of see in the future what a character like that present, the kind of problems he would present to them. Because usually their problems are how are we going to decide this scientifically, and it's not how are we going to outthink somebody who's insane but brilliant. And I think that's an interesting conundrum for them to have to face.
And he got to say, "I am your father."
I was just gonna say, I'm like, thank you for letting me do that. I'm like, the geek in me just went.
I feel so self-serving whenever I mention any of these things. But he said, I'm generally not one for a sort of self-serving, overt Star Wars reference, but this one made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
It's okay. which was really nice.
The extended trailer that was shown the other day involved Firestorm, the Dark Arrow, and maybe Reverse Flash. Can you talk about that?
Those are 4 characters who are on our show. It's part of it's part of the what we've built this whole year, especially the relationship between Barry and Oliver, going all the way back to Barry's first appearances on Arrow. You really are building this sort of friendship and this begrudging partnership and this learning, that both of them go through by being each other's friends, and to get to this point in the season where Barry's at his darkest moment, like who else is going to come and help him? And it's almost like if we didn't do that, people would be sitting at home going, "I'm sorry, don't they know?" Really isn't Oliver Queen like at least in his favorites on his phone? I think that's what's fun for the fans. It's fun. It's certainly fun for us that we're when we sit down and we come up with like, well, what's the worst thing we can do to our character, and then how are we going to get out of that? Like being able to say, well, Oliver Queen could come help, or Ronnie Raymond can come and help, and that we have actors, who are as excited about that as we are, and certainly Stephen and Robbie. It was almost sort of as simple as, hey, do you guys want to be in a scene together? And like they're both like, yes, please. They were so thoughtful about wanting to do it, and then both of them were so thoughtful afterwards about saying what a special treat it was for the both of them to get to do that. So it was sort of the best of everything. It was the best story we could tell, and it was sort of the best thing we could do for our friends and fellow actors. So.
amazing.
Oh,
Thank you so
we have one
much.
more? Which of the upcoming episodes excites you the most? Which are you excited for fans to see?
I don't know, I'm sort of excited about all of them. I'm really excited about episode 18, which is the next one up, because, the Atom has appeared sort of sparingly on Arrow, and part of that is because of the budgetary limitations on Arrow versus the Flash. But, you're going to see full-on Atom action, which is I think if anybody hasn't felt like they've really sort of gotten to see what he can do and really seen that suit come to life, and seen Brandon come to life in a way almost, because he's freed from sort of the role that he has to play on Arrow. I think in a way that episode is sort of another glimpse of what the spin-off can be. Really seeing the Flash and the Atom are both in their costumes and fighting villains together. I mean, that's super cool. And I'm also really excited for episode 20, because it's probably the least amount of visual effects we've ever had on the show. And it doesn't really matter because so much happens in it emotionally. I think that's one of the great strengths of the show, that it's called The Flash, and I think people are used to sort of the way we open big, or the amazing special effects, and that we can have an episode that really is about the characters. It's kind of fun.
Amazing.
That episode's called The Trap, by the way.
Trap? Awesome.
The Trap.
This is Alex.